record, but
On.
recording in progress.
Recording
But
in progress.
yeah, but the internet's been going like in and out weirdly. So for some reason,
Gotcha.
maybe because it's hot. I don't know.
Is there
Making
something I can do too, or did you need more
I
than one?
think one is enough, unless you just
Okay.
wanna. I can.
I've never tried recording a Zoom meeting before, so I
You
don't know
can you
how
can have
successful it would
permission
be.
if you want it.
it'll immediately end up like on the black market.
Yeah, I mean, I don't.
The black market. Ha
I don't.
ha.
I don't
This is a
think
bootleg podcast.
it'll be a problem.
Finally.
Because if my internet goes out, it's local, so it keeps recording on my computer. But I don't know. Maybe someone's in the middle of a rant and then my internet cuts out and would be on like your recording.
Gotcha. It's like every time this camera needs to be completely readjusted, or I shouldn't even. Stupid thing isn't high enough.
Yeah, you need a larger green screen there, Mark.
Yeah, I get by okay
I-
without the green screen.
Zoom has a pretty good algorithm to do a fake green screen, but it
It's that
helps for me.
Also,
Yeah,
my background's pretty much just white, so it's still mostly one color. I guess that probably helps.
I have like my lights set up to be kind of like more flattering to my skin color, and that like fucks it completely.
Hmm.
Just because I can, because I have multicolored lights. Why? I don't know. They were cheap.
Oh, there comes some junk mail. When we did the Wally one, when I sent you guys your paper, which I could have just gotten on the Discord, it was right there, but I was like trying to look online for it, and then I ended up getting myself spammed with, "Do you need this academic paper?" It's like no, so I shot myself in the foot on that one a little bit.
Hmm. I have multiple Zoom windows. I never know which one's safe to close, so I never close any of them until I'm done.
Phone it. Oh well. Yeah, all right. You guys ready for this thing?
Sure. Thing.
Are you
Okay.
ready? Are you ready for this?
Okay. Uh Welcome to Podcast 1999, the podcast about Space 1999. I'm your Space Dracula, Mark.
I don't know who should I be?
I'm
I'll be
stuck in
your brain damaged
stasis.
Diesta,
You
I
can be a
guess.
I'm
you can be
stuck
a
in
croton.
stasis.
You can be in stasis.
Yeah, I noticed you like stasis.
You could be a croton. You could want to kiss a croton.
I never wrote croton in my notes. It's always croutons. I like croutons.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Oh, I
I
like
made a
croutons.
crouton joke in
A
my
whole
notes.
ship of croutons.
The rule,
The
are you
the
following the
crouton
rules of
galaxy.
crouton?
Yeah. Not
The
everybody
rules of
likes
crouton.
croutons. I've heard some people complain about croutons.
I like
Why would
them,
you
but
do
they're
that?
always too big. Does
They
that
have to
make
be
sense? It's like they're like a little bit much for like a salad. I'm not like big on salad dressing, so if I have even any salad dressing, it's definitely like the light oil and vinegar variety. It's never like the creamy. I don't like the creamy stuff, the big
Yeah,
because
you don't want the
it
crouton to get soggy. Then it's
well,
not
it's
good.
like that's fine, but it's like it's not. But the thing is, it's not soggy enough to eat. It's like this big ordeal to eat this big crunchy thing.
I don't think
But
we do croutons in Japan. I don't recall having croutons any time in the past decade.
I've never had a salad in Japan that like salads are usually like that small thing in a little cup.
Yeah.
It's all delicious and yeah, I feel like eating a salad. This is, I mean, very controversial. Like eating a salad with a bunch of creamy glop on it defeats the purpose of having a salad, and you should just have hot food at that point.
Probably. Or you can just
Like
drink salad dressing if you're into that.
just have a lasagna if you're gonna have a bunch of cream on top of whatever you're eating.
Do you think
Yeah.
Dorzak drinks salad dressing?
No, I think he just drinks blood.
So I'm just trying to segue. I'm trying to do my pro thing. We're talking about Dorzak
Yep.
now. Salad talk over.
Talking about Dorzak, Dorzakula.
It does seem crazy that this is Dorzak and like 3 episodes later is the Dorcons. I mean, that's just too close. Is
uh,
that Fred Freeber's
Anything
imagination? It's
beginning
somebody
with
else's.
door is bad news, especially for Psychons.
as far as I can tell, the original script was still called Dorzak, but it could be that Fred Freiberg came up with the name the Dorcons. He's like, door something. Yeah. But anyway,
I'll
I
reference
guess
the people watching the show, the Dorcons. That's
I
yeah.
guess since I know so much about this show, we might as well go ahead and get into the trivia.
Sure.
Um, 21st in production order for season 2. This episode is notable for its complete lack of Martin Landau. It was doubled up with next week's Devil's Planet, and that episode took all of Landau's time. A slight correction on my part. I said in earlier trivia installment, the next time we'd see Yasko, she would be filling in for Xania Merton's next replacement. Technically, that is correct, but that replacement was also filming Devil's Planet at the same time as this. But this episode happened first. So the first thing we do is say goodbye to Yasko. And then we'll say hello to the new replacement for I think 3 episodes.
Yeah, theoretically, all these paired up ones we could do like the other way. I'm just going by the internally shrined list
Yeah.
on my A&E discs.
Yeah, that's the right thing to do. It's production order, you know. Production order is sometimes kind of arbitrary. Christopher Penfold is credited with this script. He remarked that the only thing he recognized about the script was the title, but he retained the writing credit anyway because his basic story was present in some form. This is his only season 2 credit and his final credit for the show. Val Guest is back to direct for his third and final episode of the season, the other 2 being The Rules of Luton and The AB Chrysalis. Guess what? We have another new regular cast member. Sam Daster joins as Dr. Ed Spencer for 3 episodes, stepping in after Jeffrey Kazoon left the production. Born in 1941 in Bombay, he studied at Cambridge and then at the National Theatre under Sir Laurence Olivier. He made his way to the screen by the late 60s, and like so many other actors, the show is a highlight near the top of his IMDb page. He wasn't in Gandhi like other recent guests, but he did play Gandhi on an episode of Masterpiece Theater and in the film Jinnah. You can also see him in Pope John Paul II, Bible Mysteries, and The Satanic Verses. His most recent credit was Killing Jesus in 2015.
I thought Jesus died a whole lot earlier than that.
I mean, that is a movie.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Gandhi wasn't alive in 1986, or maybe he was. I don't know. He wasn't in the movie. Anyway, as Sahala this week, we have Jill Townsend. She was born in 1945 and had a very active career in the 60s and 70s, then retired in 1979 to become a journalist. So this is one of her final acting credits. But she did come back in 1985 for 1 episode of Scarecrow and Mrs. King. Townsend was diagnosed with appendicitis during this shoot, but she insisted on working through it. And I have no idea why that was allowed, but she's still alive today after having the operation, so it worked out well enough. Our titular Dorzak is played by Lee Montague. Born 1927 in London, he trained at the Old Vic Theatre School and made it to Broadway 2 years later. He later carved out a niche on screen playing menacing or tough characters. He seems to have retired in the 2010s, but you could see him in previous works such as Danger Man, Revolution 2, Lenin, Operation Snatch, and The Best Pair of Legs in the Business. As Yesta, we have guest star Catherine Lee Scott, born in 1943 in Minnesota. She's had a long career as an actress and is still working as of this recording. You could see her in 1 episode of Star Trek The Next Generation, 1 episode of Police Squad, and 24 episodes of The Fonz and the Happy Days Gang.
Is that the cartoon?
Yes.
Okay.
I guess you can't see her in it. So, my bad. Playing Clea. Yes, I thought it was Claire too, but it's Clea. We have Soretta Wilson. She was born in Virginia in 1952. But was descended from Australians who immigrated from Ireland, and she moved to the UK in 1966, where she developed an English accent. She had a number of roles in the 70s, but her career slowed down in the mid-80s, and she currently works as a writer after leaving acting in the early 2000s, one of her last roles being a small part in The Da Vinci Code. You can also catch her in Keep It Up Downstairs, The Death Wheelers, and Tower of Evil. And that is the trivia. And
all right, keep it kicking. Keep it kicking.
Keeping it going. Summary time. Moonbase Alpha has received the Universal Plague Warning Signal. The ship sending the signal asks permission to land. It's piloted by a Croton named Sahala. She says the criminal with the plague is safely in isolation, and she needs medical assistance for her crewmate, Yesta. However, when Alpha lets Sahala aboard, she immediately shoots Maya because she's a Psychon, just like her prisoner, Dorzak. Sahala is placed in detention, is only allowed to leave when she agrees to use her technology to return Maya to consciousness. Maya then explains that she trusts Dorzak and thinks that Sahala is lying. Tony leads Maya to the Croton ship to try and revive and talk to Dorzak. Sahala almost stops them, but is disarmed and sent to detention again. Maya is able to bring Dorzak out of stasis and have a conversation with him. They catch up, and he tells her that she really should teach him the metamorph technique sometime. While Yesta is in surgery, Helena finds an object and removes it, and then Vesta immediately starts screaming about Sahala killing Clea and the Psychons being innocent, and she then dies. Tony then tells Maya what Yesta said and has her release Dorzak from the force field. Meanwhile, technician Sam Malcolm has figured out that the implant removed from Yesta had been jamming organic psycho waves, so they immediately suspect that Dorzak actually had been controlling her mind. After some convincing, Maya agrees to take the form of Sahala as part of a ruse to get information from Dorzak. He immediately sees through the ruse and imprisons her and uses mind control to force her to teach him how to metamorph, and then he takes her form. He's also able to mind control Helena to prepare to remove the implant from Sahala, but before that happens, Tony is able to disarm Dorzak because he has had his own implant put in to resist Dorzak's control, having been tipped off by Dorzak posing as Maya, saying she wanted his beer. Dorzak is put back in stasis, and Ellen gets to kiss Sahala goodbye.
So do you think
And
Dorzak has too many powers?
well, he has enough. I don't know.
Well, if he
My
can like
mind
get
was
other people's powers by just making them give them to him, I guess he's kind of like Sylar on Heroes, right?
Oh yeah,
I was
I was thinking of Eric Cartman in the anime episode where he
Oh,
of South Park.
no, I went straight to Zachary Quinto in Heroes. It's like, okay, I'm just gonna take your powers now. What?
I was kind of blown away that Maya just learned how to metamorph. Like that, I thought she was biologically a metamorph.
She had a
Did
lot
we
of
get
time
that
to herself
information?
on
Did we get
Psychon, I
that
guess.
information before, or was that just dropped in all of a sudden?
I think they just dropped in
No,
here.
mentors. She said mentor, in episode 1 that he taught her how to do this. Although he never used the power in his own right to like, save his own
Save his
life or
own life,
anything,
yes.
which was kind of weird. And yeah, also the whole mind control thing is apparently a power he developed on his own because we don't hear anything about any other Psychons having that power. It would have been very convenient for Mentor to just mind control people and tell them to do what he wanted back when he was running Psychon. So I don't know. It's kind of weird.
You definitely don't need mind control to figure out to not send someone to trick the mind control guy. Like that
Or
sounds like
you
a really
have a
bad
buddy.
plan.
To use the buddy system. You don't just go by yourself.
Yeah, never go up against a mind control person by yourself.
And also
But also,
don't let Maya tell you that any Psychon is innocent because she already has no credibility on that.
Mm.
Like zero.
well, the
Well,
thing about this is that Maya, yeah, I lost my train of thought.
Yeah, it kind of is like that though. You just think Maya. Hmm.
Well, I guess her dad was like what a flawed villain. I mean, a flawed dude. I don't know. He was a tragic villain. There, that's the term I'm looking for.
He was like
Yeah.
what like a gambler or something. He was like Nicolas Cage in Leaving Las Vegas or something, like a tragic protagonist or something. But didn't they have slave labor and stuff? I mean, he did things that were kind of unforgivable.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Even though the show is obviously fine with him having slave labor. They have no problem with
Right.
that.
Um.
Someone.
Okay. Anyway, Psychons are on shaky moral ground. We ethical ground. We can sort of Maya doesn't get it. Maya's still blinded even after all of this. She still doesn't get it.
Yeah, going into it, you want to side with Maya because here's this alien woman showing up with the story, and you want to side with Maya, but it wouldn't be much of a story if, I guess, if he was innocent, I guess. So,
The
and he
reason
plays
you
it pretty cool. He's actually he's pretty suave. He's a pretty charming guy, and he
yeah,
only
he's
puts off the
Dracula.
evil vibes. Yeah, he puts off the Dracula vibes only towards the end. So, you can kind of
I
buy into him at first.
It depends. I think that the reason that you believe when Maya says that he's actually a good guy is because you want the story to be interesting, and it is not interesting for the guy to just be evil, just like everyone said he was. Like
Mhm.
this is grasping for like a Rashomon plot, and it just fumbles it hard so hard that it is funny. In my opinion, it's like it's close. Like if there was really a thing where I felt like, wow, I don't know who to believe, but it just seemed like you believe one person unequivocally, and then you think for a second, maybe not. But also, I don't know if I trust Maya to trust this guy. I don't know if Maya's convincing me to trust this guy. And it turns out no, she had no basis in trusting this guy,
Nobody
and there
should
was
have
no
trusted
reason
this
to
guy.
trust him. No one should have trusted this guy. It was just it could have been. I don't know how to write this. Like it wasn't dumb, but it was unfortunately dumb.
It was a tangled
Cool
web.
looking,
I mean, when
cool
you're doing your
looking, and well acted.
when
So
you were doing your summary, I kind of did zone out a bit in the middle, and I just watched this last night, so
I I kind of made it as short as
It
possible because I
Point
it,
didn't
A
it
really.
was
kind of
pretty good.
dragged on a bit and sort of like yes, Sahala gets hauled back to her cell like 4 times in this episode.
Yeah,
Like every time she appears, she does something and says, "Okay, take her back to her cell."
the whole thing where she stole a gun was like dun, 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 dun. She's like it's set to kill, and then Alan just grabs the gun and sends her back to like
Yeah.
the whole thing amounted to nothing at all. Like it just
It's like point A was pretty good and point C was pretty good, but the middle was pretty convoluted.
yeah, it's kind of like if the flashback had been half the episode, it would have been better. Like they could have just spent more time on the really cool looking ship with the cool Croton ladies.
Is this like the first major flashback we had since Dragon's Domain, I think, where we spend a good chunk of time in the past? I don't think I can think of another one off top.
I'm trying to think if
Journey to where we should have, but we didn't.
There's some we probably
Brian,
should have.
I think Brian the Brain should have had one, and I don't think it did.
Mm-hmm.
It had a brief flashback because didn't we see the captain alive for like one scene or something?
I don't think so. I think we
Okay.
only see him dead.
Oh yeah, okay. Oh, and then Maya turns into the captain, right? Okay.
Like it's he talks about it, but we don't see it.
Yeah,
Even though we have the actor there. They hired an actor.
It wouldn't have been that hard.
No.
But yeah, I could have spent more time on that ship. It looked like, like a 2000 era, trendy bar where you'd get a fruity martini.
Sort of the epitome of 70s sci-fi, like everything's white and very,
Well, the polka dots are real, that's a fun touch
yeah,
that we don't usually get.
interesting colors here and there. It's very like I call it the control lounge. It's open floor plan, everybody's bedrooms are open to the center. It's like, well, it's an all-female ship. They can do whatever they want.
Yeah, when they're like, hey, let's get Dorzak more comfortable quarters. It's like, well, those don't look too bad. We can keep those. Maybe he doesn't want the stasis field on. Stasis field on,
The
excuse me.
stasis field. That was my quote of the week. Is like, the couch is very comfortable, he said.
Yeah, it was all fuzzy and stuff. Other than stasis, I didn't write quotes down. I did write the band names down. What do we got? There were two of them. Oh, Neuropulsonic Jammer, Organic Psycho Waves. At least one of those bands could open for Fish or the Dead in the Vegas Sphere. Not the Eagles or U2 though. That wouldn't work.
Okay, speaking of Psycho Waves, I had like two or three cast notes. One was Sam, I guess his name, the guy in technical who examines the thing. Did we recognize him?
Oh yeah, I didn't put him in the trivia because I had so many other people to put in trivia.
Yeah, he had quite a few things. Yeah, well, he was
there for that one episode, and that was it.
Richard, whatever. Yeah. Well, his biggest claim to fame, of course, is the little thing he filmed at the same time called Star Wars.
Star Wars. Yeah. Yeah, I saw it. I was just like, well, people are gonna be sick of listening to me talk by the end of the story. So
no, I just wanted to call that out because I looked at him and I'm just saying the line went through my head like, "Don't frighten us with your sorcerer's ways, Lord Vader."
Is this the most techno babbly episode of Space 1999 we've had so far?
Oh god,
no.
They invoke ESP a lot, and then they don't really discuss what ESP is. It was very vague and fuzzy, very soft sci-fi. I mean, he has mental powers, but then on the other hand, he doesn't like make it a habit of just reading everybody's mind around him so he can know when he's about to be double crossed.
Well, like reading a mind and controlling a mind would maybe be two different things, So
maybe he has to control it before
he's not full Professor X or anything. So
he's not the full bringers of wonder.
Plan. He was playing a long game. He was befriending everybody, trying to be a very charming guy. He's got this Psychon who's on his side, he's someone who knows him and everything. And it's like, if he had these powers, he could have just waltzed into the base and just enslaved everybody at once and then told them to take out Sahala and then he would be fine. Well, not take her out, I guess. Do what he had to do to get off the base again, but he didn't
How
do
many
that.
people can he control at one time, though?
I don't know. It made it sound like he and or his followers. And then we
Yeah.
never find out what happens to his followers, Psychon followers back on Krypton
They're
or
off
whatever,
messing something, messing things up somewhere
but it
else.
sounded like they all eventually must have killed them off or they died some way. Even though they don't kill people, they somehow killed them. A little contradiction
everyone
there. It's
says
like,
that.
yeah. She says, "Oh, I'm going to use the photon." Actually, that was Maya, so that doesn't count. Use the
So,
photon
okay.
drive on you.
The guy who played Sam Malcolm's name is Richard LaParmentier.
Yes.
LaParmentier. You can see him in Rollerball. You can see him in Star Wars as General Motti. You can see him in Superman 2 and Octopussy. And his final credit is in Connect Star Wars as Girly Vader.
Okay, sure.
Such a dignified final role.
Yeah, I
It is
know.
Star Wars.
But it's another Star
Star
Wars
Wars.
connection, so I figure it's pretty good. Also, I will be totally remiss if I don't bring up the fact that Catherine Lee Scott is a major character in Dark Shadows. Well, several major characters in Dark Shadows, because Sheenie would kill me if I did not make the Dark Shadows connection, because she's a huge Dark Shadows fan. So
I'm afraid to invoke Dark Shadows because it's one of those shows with 10,000 episodes that I'm sort of tempted to watch, and I can't.
We got the box set.
Impossible. I will never
It's shaped
be
like a
able to do
coffin.
that.
It's about this big.
Nice. I'm surprised it's not just the size of a real coffin, because of how many episodes there are.
Is that one of those shows with lots of missing episodes? It seems like it'd be one of those.
Maybe. It
I
had some
don't
early black and
know.
white episodes that had nothing to do with the Barnabas Collins. He was
Yeah, I
introduced
was
like in the
definitely
second
thinking
season.
about that.
Then
Yeah.
it went to color, got Barnabas, and then it took off and became very, very culty and famous and everything. But yeah, Catherine, I didn't recognize her at first either, and I just had to look, oh yeah, it's her.
I watched.
I might actually get Sheenie to watch
90s.
this episode just to see her.
I watched the 1991 Dark Shadows, all 12 episodes of it.
Oh
It
yeah,
was-
the remake with
It
was it?
It was Twin Peaks time, so it was kind of
Mhm.
sexy and horny and slick. So it was, but then
Who
they
was in
just
that?
they didn't renew it. Ben Cross.
Ben Cross. Oh
who
yeah,
was in a lot of things.
he was in Chariots of Fire. I think it was a huge.
He's in a lot of stuff. He's still in stuff.
He was in Star Trek 2009.
Oh
right?
no,
He
he's
played
dead.
Sarek. I think he's dead now. Yeah.
He died in 2020. But
So
yes,
in this
he was
episode,
Sarek. You're right.
So in this episode, there's no Koenig. So Tony is basically the commander, and he's pretty bad at his job.
Yep.
He just gets riled up about everything. I
and
thought he was slick at the end. I thought that he picked up on the tell, and it's like 30 minutes later, he's sitting around control like, hey, wait a minute, she wanted my beer.
Well, even that took
I-
a prompt from the Doctor of the Week to tell him, yeah, Helena was in here acting weird. He's like, yeah, speaking of acting weird.
No, my note is, wow, Tony's BSing like a master here. And then, oh, no, he really is just an idiot. And then he's still not sure, you know?
Yeah, I was like, I thought I was going to see him clearly display that he knew what was going on, and then we just
He
jumped
clearly
right
did not know what was going on.
to we jumped right to he has an
Until he did.
implant. Who knows when he got that?
Yeah, they're playing fast and loose with the timetable here, because we see a lot of things must have happened off screen.
Yeah, because
Between
Helena
A and
was
B.
mind controlled. She didn't give him the implant when she was mind controlled. Like, there's no way.
No, the other
So
doctor
he
put
did
it in, and she took
Oh,
it
the other
out,
doctor,
as
Sam.
they stated.
Oh,
at the
right. That's right.
episode.
You're right. They did say that. You're right. My bad.
Yeah, they covered that.
Good for them. Anyway, yeah, that was the whole thing with the beer felt like a big giant signpost, but I guess
The beer
it was.
actually had a point in the plot for once. It actually factored into the plot of the episode in a way that made sense.
Because I thought he was asking that like because he says 3 things. I'm like, oh, maybe all 3 of those are like kind of incorrect, right? And he's smart and he's figuring out, and he's not. He's actually is that stupid.
Yep, head of
Oh
security.
yeah, when when he's
Yeah,
talking to
head of
Dorzak.
security.
Yeah.
That should be like matter of course that he do that sort of thing, but he doesn't do it. He's stupid. Stupid, stupid.
I handed to
I'm not
Dorzak though. He was actually playing Maya properly when they came in. She was all devastated, like I couldn't believe what he said from his own lips and all that stuff. And it's like it sounded pretty much what I would have said. So
I mean, I would say, hey, Nick Tate knew what was, or Alan knew what was going on because he knew to kiss the
I
lady
was
who
about to
wasn't
say he had the
lying.
giant crush.
But
So
no, but really, it's like, man, he has such good like leading man chemistry. Like he has better romantic chemistry with this lady we just met than almost anyone in the show. Like why he should have been given
we had to wait
more than this. We had to
until
wait
the
like
end of the series before
50
we finally
episodes.
see it.
It's incredible. I mean, okay, maybe she's part of it because she is like a really good
That Australian accent
yeah, but
just
yeah,
wows the ladies.
he has to wait until Martin Landau is like absolutely not going to be on the production, unable to control anything.
Exactly. It's an interesting coincidence. We're talking about how Lando was always like putting him down, right? And so we had to wait for him to be like off the stage somewhere else, shooting something else before we finally
Alan's
give Nick
time to
something to
shine.
do. It's time to
It's
shine.
Alan's time to kiss the alien. Well, yeah.
And then put her back in her cell.
And yeah, and there wasn't
Sorry.
there wasn't that much between the two of them. It wasn't like there was they're just together kind of staring at each other, but it worked. It worked really well. It was like, man, this could have it could have given him more before, I guess. Well, that was sort of always the feeling I had with him and Sandra was that sort of like Paul was desperate for Sandra, but Alan could sort of just have Sandra if he wanted, but he was just gonna relax. You guys kind of feel like that? No?
No,
Sandra who?
you're gonna have to write your dirty fan fiction to come.
Are you talking about San or Sandra? Who are you talking about?
Sandra. No, San is a pure being who only has that one fiance who turned out to be a spaghetti alien.
Right. Hey, Mark, you used to build oboes. The ship looks like a green oboe, right?
Yeah, kind of, except
Okay.
way less complicated.
Yeah. Well, when you
way
consider
less
all the
complicated.
parts of the spaceship, though, the spaceship would be more complicated. It just
Maybe. Unless
I mean,
it's complicated on the inside, that's for
yes,
sure.
there we go. It's complicated.
Anybody talk to Brian Johnson? What was your inspiration for this ship? Oh, my daughter's oboe or something.
You guys know the whole John Delancey thing, right?
What? I mean, there's
John
lots
Delancey,
of things about John Delancey. What do you
John
want to talk about?
John Delancey Sr., the guy who plays Q's dad, was a major one of the world's greatest oboists.
Okay,
And,
I knew John Delancey had something to do with opera for a while or something. What?
I never met him, but a lot of people who came through my job back in the day were terrified of him.
Oh, okay.
And, one time his oboe came through, and people referred to it as Q.
So he was like the real Q.
He fixed. I think he was probably pretty scary, but he looked very much like John Delancey Jr., but older, obviously.
Right. That makes sense. Being the father.
He looked like Dracula.
I guess.
Dracula vibes.
Kinda.
When they first so they get what the death plague warning, and then they're like they let the ship land, which I mean still seems like maybe not a great idea. Wasn't a good idea in the movie Alien, was it? But then they're
they haven't seen it.
Their suits don't have helmets or anything. It's like, what's the point of having your biocontainment?
Yeah, I thought that too. Like,
doesn't have a helmet.
We're wearing silver suits. That'll protect us from
at least
disease.
a mask.
No masks. I didn't even see a mask. Did you?
Was there a plague? I didn't feel like this even got explained or followed up on. What was the plague?
Dorzak was the plague, but that wasn't clear.
He was
yet.
the plague? That doesn't mean anything. You can't make a guy a plague.
Hey, he caused some problems. He screwed people up just like a plague, right? I think they think the Psychons are a plague. That's why she shoots Meyer immediately.
I cannot believe they had the nerve to make a signal and say that it was the universal plague warning signal, and the plague is a guy. I do not believe that is one of the dumbest things this series has ever done. It's unbelievable.
That's the plague signal. Boop boop
boop boop. Oh, it's the universal plague signal. Universal knows about.
Which you implies just don't think like a Croton. That's all. If you thought like a Croton, it would make perfect sense.
I think like wow that I want the Moonbase Alpha to be hip denizens of the universe who know things that aliens know and all that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
But I don't feel like it's earned at all. Like it doesn't make any sense. You can't like go all over the place and meet people and learn things when you're on a static object that is going in one direction and
Well,
doesn't can't stop.
they have an escape route. They have Maya, who's all knowledgeable
Yeah,
about all sorts of things about other species that at least the Psychons have come in contact with. So I guess we're
you're
supposed
right.
to pick up on the idea that she knows this information. She's given it to the Alphans, and that's it. But they've also run into many other aliens, and some seem to know each other, others don't. No one seems to think that they're alone in the universe because they're always talking about some taking over somebody, or you killed us or we killed you, and you anyway.
I mean, this
What
is
is
but
it?
Alpha's
Battle.
basically like a refugee train, though. You know, I mean, they're like you said, they're going in one direction. They can't change course, and their tech is much lower than most other aliens, I assume.
What I
Yeah.
found
Well,
more
they're referred
unbelievable
to
was
as primitive,
yeah, the
but they
Croton's
saw.
computer knows everything about Earth and Alpha.
Mm-hmm.
It's like,
And they're
why?
primitive. Oh, those stupid primitive asteroid. But Moonbase Alpha and their tech and their scientists solved every problem here. They did everything right except even not knowing what they were doing at first, not knowing who was who to believe, they still solved all these problems. Not to mention that I gotta say, an implant blocking waves doesn't work. Like you'd have to encase it has to be a helmet like Magneto. You can't
Yeah,
block a
something that
wave with like
covers your
one
head.
It's
Yeah.
direction.
Neuralink technology.
It's
Yeah,
just a
it doesn't
Bluetooth
work.
jammer device.
It just kills chimpanzees. That's all it does. Just piles of dead chimpanzees in Texas.
You
That's
know,
all it does.
I was thinking though, because all the ships flying by, and I do wonder if Space 1999 had gone another season or two, they would have had to build like an actual starship out of part of Moonbase, right? Because that happens with all these shows. Like Buck Rogers had to have their spaceship in the second season and then watch the
Hmm.
show eat crap. But
Deep Space Nine
I
had
was
the
about to say
Defiant.
DS9 has to have the Defiant.
Babylon 5 had
Mhm.
the White Star. It's like
Yeah,
everybody
yeah.
gets a ship in the
Red
third
Dwarf
season.
gets Starbug. Is it Starbug? So they can, actually move
Yeah, they
around
had Blue
more.
Midget first, and then they got Starbug around season 3 or so. Yeah.
Yeah, so
That
that I feel like this show, if it had continued,
Alpha
probably would have had to
Flyer.
take that step.
They
Just
I
built it out
feel
of all
like
those broken spaceships that blew up around
yeah.
them.
Yeah, a super eagle would probably be the logical step, right? It's just a super eagle that's like two eagles on top of each other or four eagles.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right? Like with lasers,
Super
that would just
Swift,
make the most
Super
sense.
Eagle. Why
Super
not?
swift.
Something
Yeah,
that can
that
take a
we've
crew, because obviously Earth can make these ships, but Moonbase doesn't have one, and an Eagle seems to be kind of like a mid, range
I
thing
bet
at
I know what it
best.
looked like. It would look like the Altares
Yeah.
because they have the model.
They use the Altares model, yeah. But I'm almost surprised that didn't happen in season two, because like just what you're saying, it makes the show so confining for writing scripts and stuff, you know?
I think the reason it didn't happen in season two is because they were in cost cutting mode. You know what I mean? It
Mhm.
was like what can we cut more
Yeah, they
than
don't want to
and
shoot a bunch of Starship footage, I guess.
and they did okay, like pulling into the hangar. It's like they did fine. I didn't think too hard about the budget all the time.
Oh yeah, this ship's cool. So
It
no,
did
I was
fine.
just thinking
Yeah.
it's kind of weird that the Alphans don't have their own like
I'm
proper
glad we
ship.
got another interesting ship toward the end. I mean, the Bringers of Wonder ship didn't really throw me that much. It just sat there on the
Yeah.
launch pad, didn't really do anything.
Yeah,
Didn't even
it's like
go up or down or do it. It just sat there and then it just disappeared. And I was like,
Yeah, I
what?
guess this is
Okay.
the first ship in a while that really made me sit up and take notice, you know?
but the whole thing about Marriott super Marionation, is that the term Marionation?
Yeah, yeah.
Is that you
Super
build
puppets.
something, you build something and you've got people who know how to operate it, and as it's not as big a deal as some other production methods.
Right. And season one, of course, still has that fingerprint all over it. Like it's almost like a lot of this
Hmm.
is built around that stuff. Whereas this one goes a little more into, I mean, obviously it's the Friedberger thing, but it's kind of going into a Star Trek season three vibe, right?
Right.
Yeah, kissing and lying and
Kissing
lying
and
and
lying.
kissing,
Yes.
Seen in line.
kissing and lying.
And
That's what the series
pulsating
is now.
globes of light. Always.
Yes,
I
and
mean
cool
that
looking living
Sounds like an
rooms.
album name, Kissing and Lying.
yeah.
Oh, speaking of albums,
Always.
there was a line that the computer said about Earth saying They follow the law of the ancient continent. And I'm like, what does that mean?
I think they
And
mean
but when I
Atlantis.
heard it, I thought, I think the laws of the ancient continent is going to be my big country cover band.
That sounds more like something that's gonna ride that'll be in that epic universe they're building in Florida.
Oh,
I'm
my
sure
other
you
favorite
guys.
phrase was humans backward but useful. I'm gonna make out a t-shirt.
Yep,
That's gonna be my next
I'll-
t-shirt. Humans
that'd be
backwards but
great.
useful.
Yes, I'd wear that. I do like. I'm sure you guys probably had mixed feelings about when she said for thousands of decons there was a peaceful federation, but I'm always
Decons.
thinking anytime any aliens happen in any show and they say something about number of years, I'm like, how do you know what a year is? What's
How do you
that
know what a
mean?
decon is? You don't know what a decon is. A decon could
Good.
be like
Yeah.
2 minutes.
I
So
don't.
1,000
It
decons
means
ago is like last week.
it means just as
It's
much as
10
a year.
yarns.
You might as well use the word decons because
Yarns
I
and
don't know
yarns
what
ago.
a year is on an alien world. So that always bothers me. And so you have 10
Yeah.
seconds to comply with my alien bomb. And it's like, what is that? What is a second to you? I don't know. That's really
We are
scary.
cloaked. Federation Starship 5,000 calicams in closing.
I guess
What's a
the
calicam?
universal
I don't know, but it
translator.
sounds good.
Yeah,
And
right.
that's the important thing.
Yeah. Decon, calicams.
Universal translator looks up how long a year is on everyone's planet and translates it.
We really don't have universal translators in this show. Just
Not in
the
the
universe
show.
speaks
No, this
English.
one in particular is like none of these people should. Well, okay,
Well, it's
there's
like
the Psychon
TOS.
connection.
The whole universe spoke English in TOS. There wasn't any attempt to explain it with universal translators till next gen.
Right.
Yeah.
That just didn't occur to people much, I guess, back then. Close Encounters, he used the musical notes to communicate with the aliens, and that's one of the first times we get to that, I guess. I don't know. We've already had you can't pronounce my name in your language, the human tongue can't handle it, sort of stuff. I think that's happened by now.
On this show?
Like the Doctor?
Not on this show, just in general.
Yeah.
By
Pronounce the Doctor's name.
1976.
To pronounce it correctly, I would have to rip out your tongue.
Well, even
Rip
Spock's
out your tongue. That's
real name was supposed to
Same
be
thing.
unpronounceable according to Spock, but we never hear what it is.
I mean,
Well-
isn't God's real name supposed to be unpronounceable?
In the motion
Yahweh.
picture, she says that like when she's speaking Vulcan, it's Swahak. It's like sounds different because it's in Vulcan.
Oh, you
Isn't
mean
there-
the Kulinar sequence?
Yeah,
on
yeah,
the
yeah,
next
yeah.
gen-
It's just,
That
us-
sequence is so weird because they obviously are saying their lines in English and then backward dubbing them later into something that sounds alien. And you can read their lips and see what they're actually saying. It's so funny.
I should have done that because we were watching it recently, but it's Japanese subtitles and you're speaking Vulcan, so there was no English. So I should have gone with the lips.
She's clearly saying something like, it stirs your human half, Spock. And then the subtitle says, it touches your human side, Spock, or something like that. Try to
Well,
throw
that's-
you off. But
Yeah.
but even the words she's saying, they can't quite make it lip sync without sounding like what she was saying.
Shall we put some percentages on this one then for hard sci-fi and soft core sci-fi?
I would say 100% softcore because any chance they had it being hard sci-fi would have been the implant, but the implant doesn't make any sense. So 100% softcore.
I'll
in
give
my
the
opinion.
implant just for techie stuff and just for all the techno babble, even though it didn't make any sense. I'm willing to give it 20% hard.
That's
I mean,
fair.
incoherent techno babble still at least sounds like hard science fiction. But yeah, 80. I mean, so I'm just doing a flip of what we did last week, basically, where I think I said the opposite. But that's how the cookie crumbles. But I think this episode was better, a lot better too. So
it is.
It engages
dumb,
you.
it's
You
better.
got some backstory about Psychon and Maya. At least it's always nice to have some.
The ship is
world
great
building.
outside and in.
Dorzak has nice shoulder.
I give it
pads. He looks
20% hard
big.
just for the spaceship, man. Spaceship is cool.
Yeah,
spaceship
that's
is
on my mind.
great.
So
But I also last week I agreed with your hard, like 80% hard, but I was like, that didn't make it a good episode. Where I think that a 100% soft in this episode doesn't make this episode bad. You know
Right,
what I mean?
right.
Like I don't this I watch all kinds of things where there's a mind control guy and somebody that you don't know how to trust somebody. Like I had no problem with that. Dracula. I'll watch Dracula. I'll watch a lot of Dracula.
Weirdly, I didn't, even though his name is Dorzak, it didn't like really, when I was sitting there trying to figure out what he looked like, I was like, it looks kind of like a single person human centipede or maybe someone on
What?
Common Rider.
What do you mean?
Because he's
What do you
got
mean
that
a single person human centipede?
because he's
Does he
got
have
that
like
weird segmented. It's kind of that brown armor, and it's kind of segmented. It's kind of buggy looking. I got more bug than Dracula. Although, yeah, once I
pretty
start
impressive threads or
with
leathers,
that
I guess.
ridiculous crest, I don't know. I guess that's what makes
I
him
mean,
more Dracula-like. But yeah, I didn't quite catch on the
It made him look more
Dracula-ness of it all.
pompous.
Yeah.
I definitely thought of the composer Dvorak,
Oh,
but
that didn't
that had
occur to
nothing to
me.
do with this.
Yeah, you added a V.
Dvorak,
I'm
right?
just I was just Dvorak.
Dvorak,
That's right. I was just saying they're working out if you could just reorganize the letters, but you don't have a V, so you can't do that.
Dvorak.
You would need a V.
Anyway,
Hmm.
anyway, he has nothing to do. He's much more to do with Dracula, and you could totally see where the word Dracula would just turn into Dorzak.
No, I
Dorzak,
didn't until you said
Dorzakula.
it. Until we started doing the
Oh.
record, it just didn't occur to me. So,
I mean, then I guess they did a
It's
good
got a
job
D and an
because
R
they
and a K in it.
definitely.
So
I don't think they want you to think about Dracula when you're watching this. So I think that is more just me whatever, being neurotic and noticing that they kind
oh
of
no, once you
took the
said it, I was like,
Dracula
"What? I didn't
story.
notice that. What's wrong with me?" You know. So,
I like
I'm
Mr.
agreeing.
Montague in this role. I thought he was pretty good.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah, he's
Yeah,
great.
yeah. Not is he my favorite Space 1999 villain? Nah, but he's good. Yeah,
He
It's
doesn't
sort of
go over the
like
top. He kind of plays pretty close until toward the end. He gets a little,
he's like in the
psychopathy.
51 percentile, right? A little better than just mid.
yeah, it's one of those things where the episode might as well have just let him show up and just chew scenery and be evil, since the whole plot where you were supposed to not be sure if he was evil didn't go anywhere. It's more just like maybe you're
Well,
not
it filled
supposed
up
to think
15
about
minutes.
how maybe you're not supposed to think about how Maya has defended bad Psychons
Well,
before.
I had a thought about this plot. I think they could have turned this into a two-part episode where in part one, Dorzak wins and takes over the base, but then Maya and or Sahala escape. And then in episode two, Coney comes back and saves the day.
Sure.
Because he knows what's happening.
I think that would have been the way it played out.
I mean, that's kind of the Bringers to Wonder structure, isn't it, though?
Yeah, a little bit. It's the same sort of story, and it
Yeah.
might have worked better in some ways than Bringers of Wonder, because at least you're going up against one guy and not a sea of spaghetti monsters. But
But I was thinking though, because since Mike was here, he was ready for the existential dread, which we went ahead and did for Bringers of Wonder, because it made sense in that episode. Where this episode would make zero sense to put that question on. I mean, there's nothing about sci-fi fun existential dread here, which is why we dropped it for season 2. But this one, yeah, it just doesn't apply, and I wonder if that would.
But in Dorzak Part 2, he would have taken over the base. That would have been existential dread, because he would have been like, Lord God of Moonbase Alpha, and you have to like overthrow him somehow.
Yeah, but that lady just did that a few episodes ago, right? In Lambda Factor.
Yeah,
so,
Lambda Factor. Again, yeah, you can go
stretching this out. I'm just saying, I guess it builds in too much. Been there, done that. So,
well, it's a time-honored tradition in many sci-fi shows we've seen, when it's like the evil version of, Maya is clearly, the most powerful person on Moonbase Alpha. Not saying much because they're a bunch of pathetic humans, but the evil version of the most powerful person you have showing up usually warrants a 2-part.
That's every other Psychon, apparently.
Yeah, you're right.
Like
It's
she's really just.
yeah.
I think she's just deluded. She's just like la 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 la. I'm not from a terrible race.
Well, she's got some PTSD going there. Her father and her old planet blew up, so I can see her reach. I can actually understand her wanting to reach out to any Psychon, especially one she knew, regardless what they said, as her only connection back home. So I give her that much. But it took some convincing of her. And they had to get some evidence together to convince her. But once she was on board, I mean, she went straight for the whole deception plot and everything. And
when she first brings about stasis, though, she's like, I won't do anything that goes against Moonbase Alpha. And Maya goes directly into doing something probably against Alpha. Like in the next scene,
letting him
saying that.
Throwing him out was a bad idea, because that enabled him to, throw Yesta off, throw him off her scent. But yeah. But Doctor of the Week saved it all by telling Tony that Helena's acting strange. Isn't that strange? Oh yeah, Maya's acting strange too. It's like, if that guy hadn't said anything, he'd just be sitting there drinking his coffee in command center while everything was going to hell.
Yeah.
So thanks, Doctor of the Week. Oh, I was going to say, so I'm going to give it like 50% soft sci-fi, and then maybe 20 hard, and then 1, 2, 3 softcore sci-fis for the 3 ladies.
All
Okay,
right.
sure. Even though
I-
They were all
We
they're all
didn't
very attractive ladies.
we didn't go into how insane it was that when Sahala was talking about what happened, that she just casually tossed off that Clea like threw herself into space out of guilt.
Yes, I can
It's-
see
it
the
was almost
budget
like-
just died right there for her character.
Well,
I
yeah,
just had to we don't have an explanation. We're just gonna get rid
that
of
was
that.
almost the most suspicious thing she said. Really, it's like,
Yeah, that's the
oh,
one
we're
thing.
so
It's like,
stressing.
oh,
Oh, she threw herself
another
into
witness.
space.
You just
Hmm.
she just died, huh? Okay, that's
Yeah.
strange. Yeah, the plot occasionally has little things like that in it where you kind of go, maybe she's lying. You know?
Yeah, I mean, it
Yeah.
could be an unreliable narrator flashback. I mean, there's no reason to trust its veracity.
It's the whole, yeah, they did that. That was the only thing they really set up to make. Well, I guess I doubted Sahala for a little while, but it's like they didn't do anything to make Dorzak look not evil. He was designed like an evil character.
No, when he
Like,
comes out,
there's-
he looks kind of evil. He sounds kind of evil. I was like, well, he doesn't look so evil as to just start screaming bloody murder. So
well,
there's where I drew
you
the
could
line.
you could argue that he's like, he sees Maya, he's like, Maya, how are you doing? But like any evil person would, if they met like the daughter of the head of their planet, would be nice to them. So that's almost like a given. It's like it, if I don't know who's evil, like I don't know if Jeffrey Epstein was still alive and then he was still in jail, and then like Donald Trump Jr. showed up to visit him, he'd be like, hey, Donald Trump Jr. I mean,
They're
I was
gonna
just
call
thinking,
him
like,
by his-
Ivanka, is that you? What are you doing here?
that was the worst example possible, really. But I'm like, I don't know.
That's
Joe
the example where I
Biden.
can't put this up on YouTube now, isn't it?
Oh, darn it.
It's okay because all those people are
Censored.
Do you think it's rude to try and touch a Psychon's eyebrows?
dead.
Like if
Maybe
you meet
they
one?
seem like they'd be like erogenous zones or something.
Oh yeah, I guess that's possible.
Well, I
And
guess
that
we
would be
never-
embarrassing.
We
I
haven't
thought that's
found
what you
that
were
out
going
yet.
for. I thought
Oh, no,
that's
it's
what you
just
were
like-
directly going for.
No, it's just like, don't you feel the urge being like, huh?
Do the males have 2 rows of Rice Krispies and the females only 1 or something? I don't know
Oh,
how
maybe
that
that's what caught my attention.
They look like
Hmm.
cocoa
notice.
cocoa
Or
puffs
maybe as
Rice
they
Krispies.
mature, they get more eyebrow ridges, like guys.
Well,
who
unfortunately, Dorzak, you could actually see his real eyebrows under. They didn't do a very good job of completely concealing
Hey,
them. Whereas Catherine probably had plucked her eyebrows a long time ago, for the role, so she
Yeah.
probably didn't have
Yeah.
this actual eyebrow hair.
Well,
But is it rude? I don't know. Ask Tony.
probably.
He's probably tried it.
Like, hey, if you're out there listening to this, don't touch someone's eyebrows without consent, or their tattoos, or their hair, or whatever.
Okay, well, I guess we should go back into stasis for today.
Okay, if you want us to check out what our status is, you can go to patreon.com/podcastio TS my serve. They'll see other fine podcasts like Time Enough, the Twilight Zone podcast, the Films and Filth, the Citizen Kane of podcasts, Luke Loves Pokemon, the podcast, Game Show, the podcast about games, Hyrule Field Report, and Monster Mash podcasts about other video games, Cult Disney podcast about the connection between Nicole and Disney podcast.
Okay, we did that. I'll get here's what looks like that little gun. A pin looks like that gun. It probably was a pin.
What?
Is that your staser?
This is my staser, my stazer.
Hey guys, I just found this piece of metal behind my ear. What do you think it was doing there all this time?
Look out for psycho waves. Psycho waves.
Dorzak, take me away.
Okay. That should do that.
Hey, can I have that Twilight Zone episode I asked for?
Yeah, I think so. I just
Yes.
No, which one?
I did the it's on-
Uncle Simon. Have you seen it yet?
Uh,
So good.
It's
I've seen it once a long time ago. I'm sure
I'm back in that dumb thing where the list is on my work computer, so I
What's
have
the
to wait
plot?
till
Did
I
that have
go
something
back
to do
to
with a
work.
robot? Is that the one
Do
with
you
Robbie the
want?
robot in it?
Yes, it does have Robbie the robot
Oh,
in it.
okay, yeah.
It has. It's basically like a woman lives with her shitty uncle, and he's mean to her all the time, and she pushes him down the stairs, and then his robot turns into him gradually, and she pushes the robot down the stairs, and then the robot's walking with a cane, but still
Hmm.
insulting her, and that's
Yeah,
it. And she
I
looks
just
sad.
I just watched Waterworld again. Um,
Oh, how's that? I've never watched it.
I decided it was just nobody wanted to hear it in our podcast, but I was gonna bring up how Dorzak was like the Patreon's gonna hear it, where it starts off really good and ends really good, and the middle's just a muddle, except the middle of Waterworld is Kevin Costner being an absolute asshole to two women.
Huh.
Forcibly cutting their hair, throwing the little girl off the boat, whacking him with an oar. It's like they're doing everything they can to make him not
Yeah,
sympathetic.
he's not sympathetic.
And
Weird.
why there's a newer cut called the Ulysses cut of the movie, which adds more back into the atoll town and adds more to the dry land sequence at the end. So it kind of takes the focus off of the middle. Because
Huh.
the thought being,
I
well,
think
yeah,
I think I saw the extended cut of that, and it explains at the very end. It tells you something about the island, which is extremely obvious to anybody who thinks about it for 5 seconds. It's Mount Everest. The
right.
island is Mount Everest. It has to be.
Oh. Okay.
And you see a plaque on the top where she's waving goodbye to the mariner, and it's like the looks down and it says Mount Everest. It's like, duh. It has to be Mount Everest. It's the
I mean, it
tallest place
doesn't
on Earth.
that from what I understand, it doesn't like make the movie like a lot better, but the movie itself isn't quite as bad as you remember because it does have like cool ass action with that's why the stunt show continues to play at all the theme parks.
Hmm.
You can still
I
see
got
Waterworld stunt show.
I gotta tell
I've
you,
never.
you guys, we saw a double feature last night of our own making on Netflix, I think.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of heavy, but you might, if you want to try it out, it's The Commandant's Shadow and Zone of Interest.
Oh, I need to watch Zone of Interest.
It's
I really want
about
to.
Rudolf Hess and Auschwitz. And it's kind of weird watching them back to back, but one is like the real story about Hess's
Oh.
son and grandson, and the other is like a dramatization of what his life was like with his family living just outside the gate of Auschwitz.
Mm.
And you don't see any violence or anything in this movie, but in the background, you just hear things going on. You hear
Yep.
occasional gunshots. You hear some screams. You see the smokestacks billowing smoke into the night.
Yep.
It's really intense.
Yes,
And then you see the
I've heard a
documentary
lot.
about meeting up with his relatives and Auschwitz survivors, and it's like, oh wow, this is just it was just a weird rabbit hole we dived down. It's like you kind of have to, and they're both fairly new, like within the past year, fairly new films, so you can watch them kind of back to back and get this whole picture of what it was like. It's
There was
just
a
amazing.
yeah, I've followed. Well, there's a huge controversy where the guy who won the Oscar for Jonathan Glazer won for Zone of Interest, like said something mean about Israel, and people are very mad about it. And it's like, well, that's what happens. I don't know.
Hey, that's the
but
whole thing. Like, yeah, before 2000, it's just like your especially actors, you didn't know what their, politics or anything was. They didn't have like Twitter to scream about weird stuff on.
I think there were just certain things that people didn't weigh in on, and there people are like crossing lines now. They're like, well, yeah,
Everybody's an edgelord now.
I don't even think that's like edgelord. It's just people are like thinking of certain things a little bit more objectively, but also there are just like certain things that are happening where whatever, buttons are getting pushed, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
I guess I will go ahead and hit the recording
Yeah,
here.
I kind of ruined that entire thread.
No, I'm
Hey,
just hitting that
everybody.
because I was just going to
Well,
start doing the inside baseball talk of scheduling, which maybe
Yeah.
is a good time to stop. So that is what
Oh,
I will
AI
do.
companion.